Today, I'm at the Library Court Housing Plan here in the city of Duquesne, PA. It was over 50 years ago when demolition crews rolled into Library Court and began tearing down the Carnegie Library building. For over 60 years, the Carnegie Library was a pillar in the community. Unfortunately, the library had many dirty secrets. White philanthropist Andrew Carnegie could have been a racist. Why I say this? In 1904, Carnegie barred African Americans from the recreation facilities at the library. And for 64 years, the swimming pool at the Duquesne Carnegie Library was segregated. Blacks did not have access to the pool. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to take you back to 1968, to one of the worst travesties of the 20th century. The destruction of the Duquesne Carnegie Library. It was June 6, 1968, when demolition work began on the Duquesne Carnegie Library. By the end of 1968, the Carnegie Library demolition project had come to an end. The 64-year-old two-story brick building was reduced to rubble. Here are some interesting facts that I think you should know. During the 1950s and 1960s, 95% of the black population in the city of Duquesne never learned how to swim because of racial segregation. Federal data shows that African Americans are 3 times more likely to drown than whites. It was 50 years ago when Eddie Dukes, a 14-year-old African American, died while swimming in the Monongahela River. Eddie was from Duquesne. He grew up in the segregated Cochranell housing project during the 1960s. Many people wonder, if Eddie would have had an opportunity to learn how to swim, would he be alive today? Was the destruction of the Duquesne Carnegie Library an assault on human rights? Most Duquesne residents believe that race had a lot to do with the Carnegie Library being demolished. The most compelling evidence that I found that could connect race to the Carnegie Library demolition project lies within the pages of Professor Wellesley's book, Contested Waters. Keeping black people away from white swimming pools is an American tradition. Now that's according to Montana University professor Jeff Wellesley. Professor Wellesley's book, Contested Waters, raises many telling points. In his book, Professor Wellesley states that between 1960 and 1970, there was a wave of pool closings across America. White pool owners removed, abandoned, or closed their pools because they did not want to desegregate them. Professor Wellesley's research is right on. In 1971, Kennywood Park removed their swimming pool, and in 1968, the Duquesne Carnegie Library swimming pool was demolished. I truly believe that the Carnegie Library demolition project was about trying to fulfill Andrew Carnegie's wishes to keep the Duquesne Carnegie Library segregated. Hell, let's keep it real. It was 1968. Institutionalized racism was at its peak. In an era of Jim Crow segregation, the powers that be were never going to let black boys and white girls swim together in an intimate environment. It wasn't going to happen. The people who ran the city of Duquesne at that time were not ready for change. So they did the unthinkable. They destroyed the Carnegie Library to keep from integrating the swimming pool. This blatant act of bigotry could have been avoided if the Carnegies would have been willing to cross the color line. Now that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Run, races, run! Run, races, run! Ah!
It's more than race. It's race.
Yes, sir. I also remember the fact that if you were of color, you couldn't get in the pool.
Are you saying that if you were black, you were not allowed to swim in the pool?
Correct, sir.
Because they were told to tear it down by U.S. Steel, because U.S. Steel was afraid of the racial conflict that the library being open might cause.
I also remember the fact that if you were of color, you couldn't get in the pool. Never.
Now, you're from Duquesne. I mean, the relationship from blacks and whites wasn't bad, I don't think, was it? Because, I mean, I had black friends. We never argued about race, and maybe it's just the group that I live with. But I just.